Hello, this is Jehan. I'm the founder and CEO of Katalyst Labs, and welcome to another episode of Catalyzing Conversations. I'm really happy to have with us today Halima Iqbal, who is the CEO and founder at Oraan, a woman-first financial technology platform. She's a former investment banker and consultant with 8 years of experience with top banks in North America. Also a certified chef, Halima is on a mission to make money simple and accessible for Pakistanis. Hi, Halima. How are you?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having me here today, Jehan.
Not at all. It's a great pleasure. So why don't we start from the beginning? When did you think about launching Oraan? How did you find your co-founder, or did she find you? Tell us a little bit about that initial journey.
Absolutely. So I moved back to Pakistan late 2017, early 2018. When I moved back, I had worked in the fintech space, in the banking space. I actually didn't come back with an agenda. I was like, I'm going to figure it out. It was a great opportunity. I always wanted to come back home. And when I came here, I think the first experiences that you have with moving back to a country is open up a bank account. Since I left as still 18, 19 years old, I did not necessarily have a bank account. And I moved back here, and every bank that I was going to, they're like, no, you can't open up a bank account. Or they would just outright reject me for multiple reasons. And that frustrated me enough to be like, okay, what is going on? What is the landscape looking like? And why can I not open up a bank account? And when I started speaking to people around me, my family, friends, cousins, and started realizing that majority of the women would not have bank accounts. And while they don't necessarily have a background, they actually have their own. So I started researching and talking to people within the ecosystem, in the financial space, outside from a tech perspective, and bumped into Khurram Jamali, who actually connected me to Farwa, my co-founder, and we bonded over coffee first. And she, very similarly to myself, had moved back as well. And she wanted to look at problems from a customer experience perspective. And we both started researching if money, how do you make money simple? And there's such a massive disparity between the formal economy and the informal economy. How are people interacting with finances? What is that relationship looking like? How are people banking? And it really started off with just researching and really understanding what problem we want to solve for and the magnitude of that problem as well.
Okay, great story. Yeah, I know I think that's still very much a problem even now, but slowly it's being solved by people like you and other startups who have decided to take the banks head on, right? So it's been a much celebrated fact that you and Farwa are the first women entrepreneurs in Pakistan's fintech space to raise a seed round, right? I'm sure this came after a lot of struggle. What were some of the most daunting challenges you faced along the way?
I think if you look at from a global perspective and the amount of money that goes to fully female-founded teams is very, very little. I think last time I read on Crunchbase article was 2.2% of the VC dollar had gone to women founders only. So it's not just a Pakistani problem; it's a global problem, right? And it just gets elevated in Pakistan because it is a very nascent ecosystem, and there are no precedents that are set before this, and especially in the industry that we operate, which is around the world very, very male dominated. So I think in terms of challenges, any entrepreneurs that you would face similar kind of, we faced it as well. Being operating in Pakistan comes with its own set of challenges, but I think from a gender perspective, there are biases. There's no question about it. We don't talk about it enough. It doesn't get highlighted enough in this landscape, unfortunately. But those similar kind of biases, right? Like the questions that I would get asked would be more risk related rather than my ambition or my business model. It would also be like, why do you need so much money, or why your projections are extremely ambitious, things like that. But I think for me, what worked really well was the initial set of investors that we had gotten. They were extremely, extremely helpful in this entire journey, helping us. And I think finding that support system is extremely important, but also being true to what you want to be able to solve for. And I think there are enough investors and advisors out there who will align with your values, who will align with the mission that you are on. It takes a longer time, sure, to fundraise, but you get there. And I think being resilient and being very true to the core is extremely important. And surrounding yourself with the support system that is going to help you go through this journey, because it is a daunting journey.
Absolutely, absolutely. So starting digital committees was a very innovative idea, especially in a market like Pakistan, where people still prefer to use cash for day-to-day tasks. So how did you overcome this mentality to make Oraan the success that it is today?
I think it was writing off the natural behavior of humans or the audience in Pakistan, right? Like, if you, based on our research, and the multiple researches that were done after us as well, which show that while people are not necessarily saving through the formal means or taking credit from a formal means, they actually rely on committees or Roskas heavily. And 41% of the Pakistani population actually does that. So for us, it was, hey, let's start with helping them bring in more efficiency into their lives, into the way they do, and just optimizing on their natural behavior first, and then going into the entire, say, let's find ways to get them from a cash-based transaction to a digital-based transaction. And COVID actually helps that, accelerates that, right? And we see that in the entire ecosystem. But I think from our perspective, it has always been be hyper-local, build with the customer and on the behavior that they're used to, just giving them constant incremental value so that that behavior changes.
Okay, and did that take long, or did it proceed with, smoothly? I think, I think it's a good idea, what you suggested, that you just incrementally help them change. But was there at any time that you thought, oh no, this is not going to happen, or that it's too tough?
Every day. I think that's part and parcel of an entrepreneur's life. Like, you have so many failures and so many successes in every day. You learn so much, right? But I think it's, from our perspective, the way we operate is we're fixated to the problem that we want to solve for, and solutions will come and go, right? And it requires the ability to experiment fast, fail fast, and get back onto the problem that you want to solve for. And that's how the solutions evolve. So in terms of being tough, and yes, absolutely, it's a very tough journey. It's a very isolating journey as well, as a founder, building companies. But I think it's also about finding that set of power users who then create that network effect for you. And that requires you to understand who you want to solve for, that small niche and segment that you first say that, okay, I am going to go after these people and work with them to solve for the larger problem that I want to solve for. And it's really, really important, because you can't build for everybody and anybody, and especially not right off the bat, right? So identifying those key elements was very, very crucial for us. And that takes time. It comes with focus. It comes with recognizing that it's not going to blitzscale right away.
So where are you at right now in terms of, developing the product and getting it to the customers? How has the growth been?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we've done is we've taken this obviously hyper-local product committees, digitize them. And from a digital committee perspective, we recognize what committee from a formal financial perspective serves, right? It is your credit tool, it is your savings tool, it is providing some form and shape of insurance for the customer. So it's about how do you build on all of these verticals. And from our perspective, the customer, when she comes in first and she's taking it committees because that's a natural thing that she would do, how do we create that upward mobility for her to get to more sophisticated financial products, right? And it is giving them that financial literacy along with market access in terms of the right product, which fits into her life. Because committees could serve a really good short-term need, but like if somebody wants to buy a house, in like 5-10 years, committee might not be the right product, and it would be unfair for us to push for that as well. So how do we train her, and how do we make her start thinking in terms of getting the right kind of financial product which fits into her life? And that's really where we're at. We're introducing a more sophisticated savings tool, combine that with her financial ability to become more financially literate, and then eventually introducing more credit products as well.
Okay. So talking about women, so how important do you think it is for women to understand and manage their own finances?
Extremely important. If you look at the landscape in Pakistan, women largely make household decisions when it comes to finances, right? How do I budget the money that I'm getting in for my groceries, for kids' education, for my own personal usage, whatever that is. She is a finance minister of her house. And if you don't empower her, and if you don't mobilize her, then the entire household suffers and there's no upward mobility. And that's really what our goal and mission is. How do you mobilize and how do you design around women, which have been ignored for so long? Because her requirements from a financial product is actually the same. She will need credit, debit, savings, and the ability to make payments smoothly. But her availability is different. And how she understands products is different. How she uptakes products is different. So how do you design around her so that her entire household gets mobilized? So extremely important. And if you don't do it from an economic perspective as well, like we make up half of this country's population. If we're not financially mobilized and contributing, there is the economic growth also gets hampered.
Right. So we've read everywhere that Oraan's ultimate goal is to become an online bank. Mm-hmm. Would it be a bank only for women, run by women? Tell us a little more about what your plans are.
We're not women only. We're women first. And okay, when you say women first, we're designing around women, which also means we're simplifying the processes so much that it becomes easier for everybody else to take on the product. And once a woman becomes a champion of the product, she is going to go out and tell her friends, her family about this as well. So we're building on top of it. So that's the idea. The idea is not to be women only. It is women first, and then bringing them into the ecosystem, and then mobilizing our entire household. That's the plan.
Okay, and are you going to then become an online bank?
Yes, that's the plan. Yes. And so the idea is to how. When I say bank, what is a bank doing, right? It's providing all the services that you would require to be financially mobilized. So it could be, how do we provide, so how I want to be a platform which is giving all the holistic financial products to the customer at the right time of their lives.
Okay, yeah. Obviously, the current banking system has not really catered to all the people in this country. So yeah, something different was needed. So tell me, we've barely seen female founders entering the fintech space. Why do you think that is?
I think there's an overall disparity between the genders in the financial industry, right?
Yeah,
I
we've seen
actually,
them in healthcare, we've seen them in edtech, in e-commerce, but we seem to see very few in fintech.
um, it's an interesting question. I think it's also because we don't we don't get encouraged at a younger age to take up finance as a profession anyway, right? And I was reading very interesting study which talked about that male gravitate more towards things that they want to build, and women gravitate towards people that they want to solve for. And that's how the professions are get decided, like in a structure, in a society. And I think that's changing. I think it's also about setting precedents. We've seen a lot more doctors in the country, and for somebody who's tech savvy and who's a little more a risk taker, will go and solve for the health tech part.
Right.
So similarly, I think it's about setting those precedents and making it from an early age, making it okay for women to also come into the financial space. And it's a demand and supply issue, right? And the banks and financial institutions also need to be slightly more open for women to come in leadership position, in decision-making positions, for then a younger lot to then say that, okay, let's take this as the profession that we want to be able to solve for finance from a technology perspective.
Okay. So tell me, was there a defining moment for you in your journey as a startup founder? And if yes, what was it?
So I'm a second-time founder. For me, I think defining moment for me was when I decided I wanted to move back and I wanted to build something of my own. And that actually came at a point where I was offered a leadership position at the consulting firm that I was at. And in my head, it was, if I take this on, I will never go back home. And that, I think, changed the perspective for me. I was like, I am going back. I will figure it out. And if things don't work out, I will find something to work on. But I came back with this mindset that I will come and build something. I didn't know what it would be, but it just came back with that mindset that I'm ready to take on the entrepreneur life all over again and never look back.
Have you regretted it one bit?
No, it's a fulfilling journey. It's a very humbling, very lonely, very tough journey, but extremely fulfilling.
Okay. So tell me, what other areas do you think in the fintech space are still hot and untapped?
I think the entire space is untapped at this point. We're just scratching the surface. But I think utility-based financing, housing financing, there's so much work that needs to be done. Also on the payment side, we're not even close to. We're not there yet. There's so much friction still left. I think we're just scratching the surface. There's a lot of room for innovative ideas to come in. The market is large enough. And if we all work together, I think we can make a really good dent into this ecosystem.
So you mentioned working together, and that's what my next question. So are you looking to collaborate with other players in the market, maybe with banks or other fintech players, to sort of cover the ground a lot more? Or are you planning to do much of it on your own?
No, I believe in collaboration. I think financial inclusion is a national problem, and no one company will be able to solve for it. No one financial institution will be able to solve for it. So if we want to actually solve for it, it is about collaborating, and not necessarily, a lot of times it's not just about building the product yourself. It's about packaging it differently and putting it out in front of the customers that financial institutions might not be wanting to reach out to. So 100%, I'm very, very open for collaboration. I am collaborating with a bunch of financial institutions right now. And that's the plan. That's how we want to be able to move forward as well.
So how much of the country are you already covering, and what's the plan to accelerate that process?
So we are in tier 1 and tier 2 cities. Especially in all the major urban cities, we're there. And the idea now is, right now we target your middle income to lower middle income, and then from there we want to move into rural. So in the next 1.5 years, we'll start moving into rural as well.
Okay, terrific. So tell me, what's your analysis of how the ecosystem is progressing? Do you see many more multi-million-dollar deals followed by maybe exits in the near future?
Absolutely. I think it's a really exciting time to build in Pakistan at this point.
Yeah. So what do you think? Is it, a lot of people, some people are predicting that this is just, a rise and things will stabilize or start going down. But nobody talks about exits. Is there a possibility of exits? And if so, how much time do you think it will take for us to start seeing?
I think we're too young for exits at this point. I hope they come. I hope they come faster. But I think if you look at any comparable markets, it took some time to get there. And there is a correction that happens in every market. When you start, we're nascent. We're not even there from an emerging market perspective, in my opinion. So I think there will be slight correction that will happen in the market. And then it's going to be, how do we get all these companies that have raised great amount of money from great investors to then go on to scale their companies as well, because we're not seeing many growth stage companies yet. And then from that perspective, we start seeing exits happening. So it is another 5 to 7 years, in my opinion. But yeah, before that, I think we'll see a little bit of market correction happening. And I think it happens in every market that has gone through this kind of trajectory.
Any plans to move Oraan outside of Pakistan and into other emerging markets where products like these are needed?
Absolutely. It's part of the expansion plan. This product works in different markets, and we've seen that happening in other markets as well. But the focus currently is to solve for Pakistan. I think the market is big enough and the problem is large enough here to solve for it, do it really, really well before you move on to other markets.
That's wise, I think. Any advice you would like to give to young founders, and especially female founders who are struggling but are determined to make their mark in the world of entrepreneurship?
Absolutely. Keep at it. Keep true to your core. Build that thick skin. It is not an easy journey. There will be different milestones that you will achieve. Celebrate them. And go back to work and know that you will get there. It is that determination that will get you there, and surround yourself with great people and build that support system that you need when things are not going the way you want them to go.
Any advice for investors?
I think there's still a lot of opportunity. Look at different profiles of founders. Like if you pick up how in the last few years, whatever companies have gotten funding, it's a very similar kind of founder profile. So start expanding that founder profiles as well. And there's a lot of opportunity in Pakistan, so keep investing.
So a lot of people think that, and this is going to be my last question, a lot of people think that investors are just there to give you money. What do you think about the investor-founder relationship? How should that be, and what are the things that are really helpful for founders as well as investors as they start that journey together?
I think when we look at investors, we also look at what is the other value that they can add to the company, right? It's not just their money, it's also how can you utilize their time to build the best platform and the best company out of Pakistan. And it's very important to recognize that. What is that value that the investor is going to add to you? How are your values and mission of the business aligned with the investors as well? It's very important to have that alignment. Otherwise, so many conflicts can happen. And you want to be able to utilize the time of the people that you're getting on board on your cap table in the best possible manner. So alignment is extremely important. And I think every founder should look for that and not just money.
So I know I said it was the last question, but one more question. Is there a role for mentors? Do you think that it is important for a startup and a startup founder to have a mentor? Do you have one or two or more who you think play an important role in your journey?
I've always had mentors and I've always had coaches. And I think it's extremely, extremely important to have mentors and advisors. And I think, so in my journey at Oraan, we've had advisors from the get-go. It was very important for us to recognize who are those people that will add value to the team, but also can be that sounding board for us. So we were very, very clear about that. Even within the culture that we've built, we want to be able to empower people by giving them that mentorship support as they find the trajectory in their careers and then eventually go on to build their own companies as well. So having a mentor is extremely important, but also differentiating and realizing there's a difference between a mentor and a coach. And having a coach which actually operates more as a therapist for you as a founder is also really important, because there will be times where you would not be able to talk to your mentors or advisors about certain things in the business, but your coaches will get you to a point where you can have those conversations, right? Like he or she will train you to get there. And I think it's extremely important to have both.
That's great. Thanks so much, Halima. I think this has been very valuable, and I'm sure a lot of founders will find this very useful. Thanks so much for your time. I know it's a very busy time for you. Good luck, and we're all rooting for you.
Thank you so much, Jehan. It was a pleasure being here.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.